Everyone, thanks for joining. For those of you that are new to the channel, I'm Reagan Sonnabend. I'm a real estate investor, small business owner, and corporate housing operator. Today, I've got my friend Joel Holt joining, and welcome, Joel. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Reagan. How are you?
Absolutely. So, this is kind of an interesting story. Joel and I have known each other for a good while now. And we actually did work together at one point. And even before that, I knew Joel because the organization that we both used to work for was the client of who I worked for at the time. Let me think, I guess it was probably around 2017, 2018 when we
I
first
think
met.
so.
Yeah, so it's been a little bit now. In any case, great example for all of us that are out there networking that, I had not been in touch with Joel for a while. He did a post on LinkedIn to share the new business that he had purchased and what he was doing. And so I was really intrigued, especially given that it is related to real estate. So, Joel, if you'll tell everyone a little bit about kind of what you're doing, and then I'll have a series of questions for you if you don't mind.
Well, actually, our history, we stopped. We weren't at our respective positions, but then we stayed in contact because I always was in real estate to a degree, and you got into what you got into, and we talked about real estate, or we talked about rentals with our
Hmm.
properties. So there was a conversation. So we always stayed in contact, and it's funny that we come right back into now. I basically have my own franchise, which is called TruBlue, a home service ally. And so the story of that is that I was basically waiting to see what my next move was. I was selling my property, and just a, some mutual friend of mine contacted me and basically offered me the position to take over this franchise. And so at first, when he asked me, and I said, "Well, do I actually have to do the work? Because it's a handyman company." And I'm like, well, I've been in IT for like 30 years, and I have a background in creative production. And I would do on the side property work and maintenance and flipping houses,
Hmm.
taking care of my tenants and things of that nature. So I've been doing it for over 10 plus years. So he felt that it was the right fit for me, it was the perfect scenario for me to get him out of the situation that he's in, and I could take this business over. And so as I really start to learn it, and this has only been a couple months, I was approached in May.
Okay.
This is August. And so I went down to get trained on how to actually run the company and understand that this is a handyman company first, but they also specialize in senior services. So we want to get into installing ramps, installing grab bars. We could do tub modifications, shower modifications. And so based off of this business, we have partners where I have relationships with some of these vendors, where I'm able to, provide those services and the materials and things of that nature. I can get into remodeling of kitchens and bathrooms and decks and things of that nature. And this service it's an ally. And what we want is that we want to be an ally to the customer. It's not that I tell my guys all the time, it's not necessarily about hitting the home run. Contractor comes in, want to get the home run, and I got a big contract. What we do is that we want the singles, the doubles, the triples, and then we can get the grand slam. And it's been happening. I went to one lady, one lady I walked in for a light bulb and a vent, and walked out stripping out her ceiling, quoting her for a whole basement because it was already stripped, basement drywall. She wants the gutters done, smoke detectors installed. She wants some doors. Like I went in just for a light bulb and whatever.
You built
and
some rapport, I guess.
uh, well, you start. I mean, part of it is personality, meeting the customers, and what the difference for me going into this business is that I don't come from the contractor's mentality. I come from the mentality of, like, my dad is one of those guys that just did everything. I grew up doing a lot of this stuff. We built decks as a kid, and then, I was tinkering around the house, and something inside of me was making me do a lot of this stuff. And at the time, a lot of us necessarily didn't have the money to just do nice things. So I learned how to tile. I learned how to redo a lot of the kitchens and bathrooms on my own. So my mentality was more about dealing with people who may not have done great work, shoddy
Hmm.
work.
Mhm.
My dad has hired plenty of guys when he would hire them and they just didn't do a good job. So he's like, forget it,
Mhm.
I'll do it myself. So
Mhm.
I applied a lot of that to myself. And the few guys that you keep,
Mhm.
oh, those are the ones you end up keeping and building up. As I got to this point, there was a few people that I had that I could work with, and my network allowed me to give me the confidence to run this business. Like I in my pocket, I have one of my guys that I first guy I called. I
Mhm.
said, because there's no way I could do this if I didn't have you, because I need someone to go right in and can take care of electrical problem. Can you take care of a
Mhm.
plumbing problem? Can we take care of those type of things? And so it's been well, this is August, and so already, I mean, it's been successful in the sense that I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to ever go back to corporate. I don't want to work for
Love it.
anybody else. And so I mean, I see the vision. Like I'm at a point where I'm ready to get vans because you can have them wrapped in the TruBlue vans and
Yeah,
get a
that's
facility.
marketing.
Yeah, so the mentality I have is I would be more of the marketing
Mhm.
owner versus like they tell you got to have either the business like a business admin or a marketing person. You can't
Mhm.
do both. And
Right.
so I'm working eventually to get my business person that in the day to day. But as I keep ramping up and building my clientele, building up my accounts, things of
Mhm.
that nature. So I'm just aggressively, pushing that. And we use like Thumbtack and Angie's List. Actually, I paused Angie's List for the time being.
Mhm.
Right now it's just Thumbtack, but I
Wow.
can scale it. And
Yep.
so when I'm able to really invest even more into it, I can turn all those things up to bring in more jobs because they come in all the time. You sit up and it's Sunday night at 7 o'clock, and someone says I want my door fixed, and they got to call them on Monday, or a rod job came out of nowhere. Stuff like this comes up all the time. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
variety.
Well, it's interesting too, because as you were kind of talking at the beginning, I was thinking about you also have a really good perspective from having been a landlord before, because, there's times where, something needs to be fixed, renovated, cosmetic, depending on how involved it is. But as having been a landlord yourself, you have that perspective of understanding where you got to kind of, you may not necessarily want a class A property. You want something to be fixed and you want it to work operationally, but you don't necessarily need the fanciest. So you want kind of, the minimum viable thing that's going to work because it'll take wear and tear. And so, I think that that gives you a good perspective as you're estimating things.
To your point, this new vinyl floor is my
Mhm.
friend. You want vinyl floor? Yeah, yeah. I will gladly put in a new vinyl floor for you. It's so easy to snap those things together, cut them in
Mhm.
there. I mean, I have all the tools. Like I had one of my tenants not too long ago because I had to upgrade as my tenant, and I was practically able to do a whole bathroom in one day because I could do vinyl floor and same day shower
Mhm.
surrounds. You know,
Wow.
and so, yeah, new vanity, light, the whole deal, countertop, toilet, all that stuff. But when you can put the floor in like an hour, that
Yeah.
is great. So, yeah, to your
Absolutely.
point, you want good quality. Like I
Mhm.
currently have a tenant where I got to redo this whole unit. It's like, oh, nice guy, great
Mhm.
guy, but
Mhm.
tore my unit up, and I'm like, I don't think I want to put carpet in. If I can put a good,
No, yeah, and that's the thing. I'm with you 1,000% on the LVP. Like any chance I get carpet out and put that LVP in. It's so much more low maintenance. And that,
yes.
another thing as a landlord, like, yes, carpet is cheap, but it gets gross and you have to either clean it or replace it too often. So why wouldn't you just put LVP in and, that's going to be there for the long haul. And like you said, especially, if you have multiple properties and you have a certain flooring that you find that you like, you just keep it. And that way, whenever you have repairs that are needed, boom, you've already got it. Just pull some out of the van, whatever it is.
That's the other thing too. Like now you're getting into a new world where, before it's like you may go to your box stores to buy some stuff or maybe a tile, a
Hmm.
specialty store. Now there's like, there's auction places where you can buy in bulk or it's the
Hmm.
Habitat for Humanity. And, then it turns into being more strategic of like storing things because where I want to go already, I want
Hmm.
a facility because you get so many materials, holdovers from one or
Hmm.
bulk, and then you want to be able to store that stuff
Yep.
somewhere. And so as I get my guys ready, it's like, well, just swing by the shop first. We have
Hmm.
X amount of rollers, X amount of sanding blocks, X amount of trays, X amount of whatever, electrical materials. And that way you save so much money because there were some metrics that were I was being shown from corporate, so to speak, that like you're one of the best guys. He was able to save so much because his material costs were low. But you're also,
Mhm.
like, so it's like that mentality of just understanding how to run all the business, how to estimate properly, how to make sure that your guys get in and out at the right amount of time, because
Mhm.
the more they go over, you lose. Like, yeah, they got paid, but the company's not getting paid. And so you're like factoring all these things in
Mhm.
as you run this running this business.
For sure, getting systems in place and really optimizing that. I mean, the devil's in the details. And like you said, I mean, when you were saying that about buying in bulk, I mean, imagine, I'm thinking about this because I'm putting in LVP at a couple of different properties in different states right now. And I have my go-to. I know what I'm looking for, and for me, it's that not quite blonde, but light wood. A few years ago, God forbid, it was the gray, and you still see that hold over some places, but that's like the standard issue floor these days. So why wouldn't you just buy that in bulk? Boom. I mean, it really it gives you higher margins, and also reduces lead time for projects, things like that.
Right. And so like this, like I said, this business that I'm in is handyman first. We
Mm-hmm.
really want to specialize in getting in and out, because
Mm-hmm.
they caution like new owners, for example, when you buy the business and you're tempted because it's a big $50,000 $60,000 project, and
Mm-hmm.
you're rehabbing or renovating a house, but then you get in there and there's going to be some things you find, depending
Mm-hmm.
on how old it is, and there might be some, you could get bled out, if you don't know how to offset that. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing that's so funny too, I was going through the training and they're telling me how to do it. And say, the first thing you do, don't go for the big job. That was my first quote. That was my first job. I didn't know. I was just given a baby. It was like, here, take this baby. And I'm like, what am I? Okay, I go quote away.
Yeah.
And I had one job where I quoted a guy, and you run into some people where they're new at flipping, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and he wanted me to basically quote out the drywall,
Mm-hmm.
a 3-story house, ceilings, hallways, 3 floors,
Mm-hmm.
basement, the whole deal. In his mind, he thought $10,000
Mm-hmm.
to do just the drywall. I'm like, no, it's 10,000 a floor. But if you didn't know any better, you might think, oh, it's like, no, you got to calculate all that, the hours it takes to just do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like the first things I ran into as soon as I got this, was because I got a few leads that he had gave me to
Mm-hmm.
to run this business. So the one of them is kind of working, where I'm rehabbing a guy's property now. But because I've been able to run the other stuff and still generate income, generate, offset, like I still want my guys bringing in stuff every day over here. And I'm thinking like I might have large project division. And large projects is anything over, like, anything over 4 or 5 days. So if it
Okay.
turns into like, because a bathroom, you might depend on, it might be a 2 or 3 day job, depending on what that is, or it could turn to a week or 2 week job.
Mm-hmm.
So large projects, kitchens and rehabs, and then you got your in and outs. And I've had the easy ones where, I mean, like I just quoted a lady for replacing the rubber like gasket on the bottom of her garage door. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's easy. Get in and out. We had one of the first jobs I did. We fixed the guy's garage siding, ripped the
Mm-hmm.
siding off, but that turned into a situation where he used to have, I guess they had termites or something like that. He
Mm-hmm.
got rid of all of that, but then you get in there, some of the studs are bad. It's not just
Yeah.
apples to apples. So
Yeah.
we got in there, fixed all those type of things. So you get, a number of jobs that just vary, and you figure out how to run your team. You got your
Well,
part.
and it's funny because, I'm sorry that I didn't learn about you doing this just a little bit sooner, because it reminds me, in my property in Homewood, this is a perfect example based on what you're talking about, that it was just a small little area of the siding where in a storm, some of it had gotten pulled down, but it was cracked. So it needed a little bit of work, but nothing crazy. But I had such a hard time getting someone out there because, first, my usual guy that I've used in the past for handyman type stuff was booked several weeks out. I actually had an exterior company that I had used recently on 2 different properties to replace roofs, but this was smaller than their usual stuff that they did. And so, I went through this whole series, and, it took a while. I finally did go on Thumbtack and find somebody that's like a siding specialist. And, I was like, that would have, I would have loved to have had you for that. And, I also think that, as you're doing your networking and networking working with people that have a lot of properties, landlords, whether it's multifamily, single family, what have you. I know for myself personally, a pain point is a lot of times it's hard to get somebody out, same day, next day, or, what have you. A lot of times, regardless of what trade, so many handymen and different, uh, competitors of yours, I guess, are booked, a week out. So that could be a competitive advantage as you're getting started. Just that, hey, we're available quickly. We'll come, we'll get your job done, and not a week later.
Well, I think the one of the appealing things of what I have is that like it's a national franchise. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a brand, it's a logo, we're a premium service. We want to come in and make sure we have our booties on the shoes and
Mm-hmm.
we come in with professionalism. So I think out here there is some competition to a degree, but it's so varying
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like I'm fighting for just a plumbing job or
Mm-hmm.
this. It's so much stuff that happens, and so you know, you can just quote them, and I'm not at a point where I mean, like I said, I basically just brought my third guy online, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Good for
and
you. That's
I'm also
amazing.
factoring. Thank you. I'm also factoring like some large projects coming up too.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I have a kitchen I need to quote out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes just these leads come out of nowhere. A
Mm-hmm.
friend of mine, hey, come check out my, friend. I go out there and it's a whole kitchen they want quoted. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm it looks good like I probably get the job. Or like I quoted a lady for a drywall job and I wasn't sure I was gonna get it. I said, I quoted. And then I looked over the weekend, it was approved. I'm like, oh.
Well,
And
and the other thing too, kind of thinking about how that all works together, really if you can focus a lot of efforts on investors and people that have multiple properties, and even though what you're saying, like you're not really looking for the big jobs, but think about if you're working with investors that have their own portfolio and, maybe you do a flip for them or they buy a property and it's a buy and hold, but it needs cosmetic updates. But then you're their go-to guy for maintenance because that ongoing property maintenance stuff, you never know when there's going to be something with the HVAC, when there's going to be whatever thing. Those are a lot of the ones that I find that I struggle with because we need to meet tenant expectations and get someone there quickly. And that can be hard to do. But those, ongoing maintenance for whenever it's needed, I would think would be, something that could be your bread and butter over time.
so okay, to your point, if I was to do the elevator pitch, that is all
Mm-hmm.
part of that. We're a
Mm-hmm.
handyman company. We provide those services, but we want to network with real estate investors. We want to network with real estate agents, especially with people who are buying homes. For example, they need somebody to do modifications after they buy the home. We want to be the person that if you need to do upgrades to get the house to be ready for sale, call us.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able. We offer maintenance plans. We do offer all of those things as part of our services that this company can do. And so that's exactly what we wanted. That's what they tell us to do. You get your
Mm-hmm.
list of, talk to the real estate flippers, investments. That's what I'm dealing with right now. We're
Mm-hmm.
working on a guy's house now, and we're not even finished with this one. And he's ready to go look for another one.
And with your mom as a realtor, that certainly will be handy as well.
Yeah, well, it's just creating a pipeline. So if they need someone, just call us. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing. Reach out to other real estate agents, and I've been doing that. So that's why I'm like, I realize where my role is. It's not so much that I need to do the work as much as I need to network to bring the pipelines in. So, I appreciate you reaching out to me because that's what this is about. It's one, fostering relationships. We've had a relationship before,
Mm-hmm.
and it may not be that this leads to something today or tomorrow. But 6 months from now, there might be something that happens. I
Mm-hmm.
spoke to a gentleman in an insurance. I reached out. So a friend of mine put me in contact with an insurance person, but then it was also a guy from the mold remediation. I think it was like a Serve Pro, for example. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, we do fixed houses after the remediation, but there's certain jobs where we may not do, and I can send that to you."
Referral network. Yep.
And there was another gentleman that I met. It's so funny too. When I bought my house,
Mm-hmm.
the one I'm selling, I bought it like 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And at the time, someone had unplugged the sump pumps. And so it had flooded in the basement.
Uh,
I was happy. I was like, that's great. That just dropped the price down $20,000, $30,000. I got a deal. I re But we brought it. They had to bring in a mold remediation guy. That guy came in there and he was trying to charge, $30,000. I said, I could do that. But what's funny was I remembered him, and I remember running into him because he's in the neighborhood. And
Hmm.
so I reached out to him like last week. He said, I remember you. And we talked for about a half an hour. And I said, yeah, I
Hmm.
got this business. And he was like, this, it actually works hand in hand. We do the
Hmm.
tear out, you come in and do the fixing. And
Yep.
so it's just the networking. But a lot of that is the
Nice.
personality and dealing and working with people. So that's kind of where I'm at now is that I have the foundation, and now we just got to get get out and start communicating and working with people. And it
Absolutely.
also goes, it's a synergy that you can create too. Obviously it's not just that I need leads, but I can also refer out, as well.
Sure thing. So, thinking about kind of the operations of the business, and I think, all of this is really interesting because, again, I'm in this space, my network is in this space, and we all have needs, and we all know what our pain points are. But I know when we were talking before, and you mentioned a minute ago about like you got your number one guy in. So let's talk through that a little bit. Like, so you have your team that you have already, you're kind of thinking about what that growth looks like. So what was that like starting off where you're having to try to kind of match your business development and bringing business in the door with the team you have? Because once you've got somebody, you've got to keep them busy, of course. So, how is that operations side of things working? And like, what are some things that, maybe you have going next? And are there other is there any expansion that you have in mind as far as services that you're not offering today that you might like to offer?
Right. So there's a couple of trains of thought. So the first guy I called, my mentality was I would rather hire like handyman, existing kind of handyman. So
Mm-hmm.
my guy he already was working with another contract,
Mm-hmm.
but he's his own independent contractor. I
Mm-hmm.
told him what I have going on. We've
Mm-hmm.
worked together off and on for years. I would hire him to do a lot of little jobs for me and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw he did great work. And
Mm-hmm.
so I jokingly, I I met him through my dad. You just see people in Menards and Home Depot. I've seen him for years.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day I needed a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Dad, I need a plumber. 'Cause, like, I got my electrician, I got my HVAC guy, I have guys, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I got to get a good plumber.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Ed. So Ed is the plumber. I just say him as Ed the plumber. And then over time, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. It's like, you can
Mm-hmm.
drywall? Yeah. I mean, and drywall, mud, okay. Electrical, yeah, I do. I'm like, so
He's jack of all trades.
well, what's funny was this morning because we were talking about quoting out this person for a bathroom, and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted an exhaust fan. I was like, well, are we gonna do that? I wasn't thinking we'd do a fan. He said, oh yeah, I do those all the time. I'm like, I said, why don't you just give me a list of everything how about this? I say we do everything, and you tell me what we can't do, because I know what I can do, and I know I have enough knowledge of understanding how to quote and do whatever. But anyway, sidetrack.
Mm-hmm.
So he was the first guy. And because I told him I can only give you so many hours at a certain point, so he was kind of coming and working, and like he would start early, and he would
Mm-hmm.
knock out some jobs for me in the afternoon. I was also still learning learning how to just talk to customers, learning how to just do the estimating and things of that nature. So it started to build up a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
then when I got the big job for this rehab we're doing out for this house,
Mm-hmm.
I could clearly send him there, but he took time off where he could work there. And so it got to a point, I mean, it started to ramp up pretty quickly. The second
Mm-hmm.
guy came, that was more of a 6 degree separation. My little cousin, I'll say he's my nephew, my cousin's kid, I had him
Mm-hmm.
as a little laborer.
Mm-hmm.
He told, I guess, somebody, girlfriend's dad, whatever, about what I was doing. And so he came out and he basically interviewed. And so I brought him on eventually after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
I did go through a period of like trying to get the first, so May I was approached. June, I'm still trying to figure out like how this works. Because the issue was also understanding how I do this to take over this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then so I'm learning, I'm interviewing people. I had a guy I wanted to talk to. I had a guy that I liked a lot. He had his own van, had mold remediation equipment. He was ready to go. And I told him, I'm like, I'm building something. I'll probably be ready eventually. And he already had a little side business. So I didn't feel bad to try to bring you on, and I couldn't promise you any hours.
Right.
Another guy, a few guys I interviewed. I call them, let's set up an interview. Nothing. I got past the phone interview. That was it. When I was ready to probably hire my second guy, I went back to the guy at the mold remediation. He just fell off. I never heard from him, so it didn't work. But I ended up this second guy. He worked out. I had a few interviews with guys. One guy, what I see is that you got to walk in the door with your shirt and a certain look. And one guy
Hmm.
came in with a mohawk to here with a beard there, and it's like you could probably be great on the crew side, but I need someone that represents day to day basically as a salesman also. So some guys just didn't work out, and then the third guy just basically just waiting to see who fits in terms of just a skill set. So the
Hmm.
third guy is a little he's skilled to a point. I mean, he was serious. I asked them all to bring pictures of your work. So
Okay.
he printed out he went to Walgreens to print out all the pictures. he, had, he had stacks of pictures of all his work. And
Uh-huh.
so we were going through that and rehabbing a lot of property, especially in the city. So it was just like you're seeing someone he can deal with, galvanized steel or pipe and plumbing. And then it was electrical. There's the floor and like all these things. It's like, yes, this is great, because it's just, like I said, a variety of things. So um, I tell them basically that you're paid basically hourly based off the hours I can give you as this thing ramps up.
Hmm.
And a lot of them, I mean, they believe in what I'm building. I tell them what my vision is, and they like it, and they want to be here. The way I manage people, I'm not necessarily like I'm not a micromanager.
Hmm.
I want you to be here. We're gonna get along. We have enough to deal with internally.
Hmm.
So I mean externally. So I'm not gonna get any problems internally. Let's just get the work done.
Right.
And so you try to build people up, and I know that certain people could be rough on ones. Like if you mess up, you're so quick to tear somebody down. And I'm like, if you're tearing them down, they're focusing on your reaction versus now getting locked in to do the work. So if
Hmm.
I build you up, you're doing a great job, but could you do this?
Hmm.
Versus what are you doing? So my vision is to keep growing it to a point. I met some owners like they were out in Texas. One guy, basically, all his business is off referrals. A lot of
Hmm.
them start off with Thumbtack and Angie's List, and they kind of tell you eventually you don't need them
Right.
because it turns into referrals. So the one
Yep.
guy was doing the whole investor real estate group,
Hmm.
did a BNI group, networking with them. And so now it's this business. Now, of course, if you can get bigger jobs where they're rehabbing and you're getting $10,000 to $15,000 type jobs. That helps because they said they're generating like 800 grand a year.
Hmm.
All four guys.
Wow.
So it just depends. Now I'm like, I don't think I would stop using Thumbtack or Angie's List if I want to scale it. But some people it just depends on their mentality, what they want, how to scale that. So I have a guy right now that I like a lot, and I told him he's not. See, the difference is most of my guys are already kind of like side job guys, and then I
Hmm.
can give him more hours. He already had a job. He's got experience, but he's like working like a kind of equivalent like a Home Depot type job.
Hmm.
And I had reached out to him because I'm like, it's ramping up, but I don't want you to quit, and then I only
Right.
give you 15 hours.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
we're at that point where just identifying talent. You're
Hmm.
always scouting. You're always looking to add to the team
Hmm.
and hopefully you don't want a lot of turnover because as you know it's expensive to turn over. You got to
Yeah,
train, you got to teach, there's a slight investment when you bring people on. So
for sure.
um
Now, thinking about the franchise, because, just the franchise aspect of this is really interesting, because what's great about franchises is it kind of helps solve a lot of the problems so you don't have to figure things out yourself. Do you get support from them with human resources, or like what exactly do you get through the franchise to help support your business? What aspects of the business?
there are things in place like
Mhm.
for your insurance. You can go to their partner for insurance. There is a list of things that you can do to help your business. So if you need someone for your bookkeeping, there's someone that I mean, of course, everything's a cost, but there's
Right.
they have that. You can go to use their preferred vendor for getting your
Hmm.
merch and shirts. Now I actually have my own vendor because I was already doing merch for my side projects that I was doing. So I can but you can go through them. Uh, um, like I said, they have our partners You have national dealers that you can set up your accounts, and
Mhm.
there's, they can send you some demos. So, like for example, Best Bath is someone we partner with,
Mhm.
and they give you some of the information when you go and meet with a customer. You can show that. So they give you those things. There are forms and a lot of information that you can download and get all your agreements and things of that
Mhm.
nature. So it's not really like they give you this box for you to basically open up and set up,
Mhm.
which is why it's not like buying a McDonald's, for example, where outside of you getting the land and the lease and the contract, you have an automatic ready process. You're just plugged in.
Mhm.
Each of these franchises independently owned, and you kind of run them how you run them. They give you the colors, the branding, and some of the framework, but after that, it's kind of on you of who
Mhm.
you bring on. They don't meddle, and all they really care about is making sure you're doing your reporting on time.
Mhm.
They can coach you. They'll coach
Mhm.
you to a certain point to help you get through some things if you need be. But for the most part, you basically, they give you the framework, and then you grow from there. Some owners can go, $1 million plus. Some
Mhm.
are just a few hundred thousand, depending on, and it's totally fine.
It's great because it's fully scalable. I mean, like you're saying, really what you have to do is match, your business to the number of guys that you have and kind of, doing that at the right pace. So, for people that are watching, let's talk about where you're located, what geography you serve today, and how people can find you.
I am right now it's registered as TruBlue of Beverly.
Hmm.
But I do plan to I'm pretty much staying in the south suburbs, so I
Hmm.
have the freedom to basically stay in the south burbs as well as in the city. We could go I could go as west to I could go to Joliet, I could go out to Orland. We can go as north. Pretty much I can go anywhere I want to, but primarily it's the south suburbs,
Hmm.
as well as the I can go into Indiana like Hammond, Whiting, north of 94. So
Hmm.
there is another franchise owner that basically has the Indiana territory. So all the Dyer, they have all that territory south of 94, east of in terms of Northwest Indiana. And
Hmm.
then, but yeah, based off geography and my techs and things of that nature, we pretty much stay on the south suburbs, if
Got it.
not the south side of Chicago.
And how can people find you online?
You can follow me on True Blue of Beverly on
Mhm.
Instagram.
Okay.
We're also on Facebook. You can go to Google and search and look for me as well. I got a few good reviews on there.
All
I
right.
have a website. It's trueblueallied.com/Beverly, but you can just
Okay.
Google and find us there.
Okay.
And also, I've gotten direct leads just through Thumbtack where you can find us on there as well. So I
Got
actually have gotten a few good reviews even on Thumbtack
it.
as of late.
Got it. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited for you. I mean, it's amazing how quickly you've got things going. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of progress in a couple of months. So
Thank you.
well done. And I can imagine 6 months from now, you'll be even in a whole different place. And that's really exciting. Well, I'm glad that you were able to join today. I'll make sure and get all of that information to share in the description on the episode here. So if people want to reach out, they can do that. Any parting thoughts?
No, I mean, thank you for the opportunity. I'm glad it was a nice conversation, one, and
Mhm.
hopefully, like we can continue to just create that synergy and build. So,
Absolutely.
I enjoyed speaking with you.
Same here. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, Joel.
No problem. Take care.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.